Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 7th of September. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barrie in Amsterdam and Jonny McFarlane back home in sunny Glasgow. How's it going, lads?
Good, mate. Good. I'm slightly gutted that I'm not there in Amsterdam with you, but there you go. I'm stuck here back in, it's pretty much cold and grey Glasgow. It was sunny yesterday, but that's dissipated, and now we're back to the kind of normal weather. What's it like with you?
Well,
nice,
tell you what,
it
was mud. Yeah, it's nice this morning, but last night there was a torrential downpour. Me and Joshua got caught in it, making our way back to our hotels last night. So, hopefully it stays off today. I've seen that thunderstorms were forecasted at some point, but in the main, it's been a pretty nice temperature. Joshua, would you say? Pretty nice day. Certainly one for getting the factor 50, especially for me, layered on if you're heading out into the sunshine.
Yeah, definitely for you. No, it has been nice. Last night I was caught in a thunderstorm like I've never been caught in a thunderstorm before. It was horrific for about 25 minutes. But there we are. We're fine now. We dried off, and it's quite a nice day. So looking forward to seeing a bit more of Amsterdam today. The kickoff's it's an early kickoff, which I hadn't realised until last night. So that's good, because often when you're at these away games, the kickoff's at 9, and it's quite a long build-up when you're anticipating a game.
Yeah. Let's look ahead to the game now, folks. Just bit of housekeeping. First of all, you can see the little ticker below. We've still got that great offer on the website just now. Just £1 for 2 months worth of coverage. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. And as ever, I'll stick the link in the comments section as well. I'm on the hotel Wi-Fi, which has decided to work this morning, but it may be a bit temperamental, so apologies for that as well, but we'll try and crack on as we normally do. Game day then, Jonny. I was speaking to a number of Rangers fans last night in the wonderfully named Europub. The Rangers supporters had taken over last night, and when
Derek,
we were
before we
in
get
full
any
voice.
further, tell them how much a round of drinks was in the Europub. 4 drinks.
Listen, I don't think this is bad for central Amsterdam. It was €42 for 4 drinks, two pints, a vodka and lemonade, and a rum and coke. You think that's astronomical, Jonny?
€10.50 a drink. I mean, yeah, I would be crying into my pint if I'd been hit with a bill like that.
Derek, you're getting paid too much, obviously, mate.
Yeah. Listen, it was the goodness of my own heart. I wanted to buy a round of drinks for young Joshua, and we met good friends of the show and Rangers Review contributors Martin Ramsey and Adam Thornton last night, who are enjoying themselves as well, taking in the delights that Amsterdam has to offer. So good night all round. But
you may want to clarify that, mate, a little bit.
Jonny. Listen. We were sampling the local beverages. So it was a great night all round. And speaking to Rangers fans last night, Jonny, in the Europub, there's a bit of subduedness, I think, which is understandable given the result at the weekend. But this should be a match that fans should be buoyant for, should be looking ahead to, because it's been 12 years, of course, a long 12 years since we've been playing at this stage of European competition. But there's no getting away from it. Fans are on a right downer at the moment. I suspect that might change when we start hearing the Champions League music at the Amsterdam, the Johan Cruyff Arena as it's now known. But yeah, it's just a weird feeling, Jonny.
It is. But there's nothing that can be done about that. That is what is going to happen at Rangers, a club this size. When you lose to your rivals 4-0 in the run-up to any game, it's going to be downbeat. There's going to be pessimism, there's going to be anger, and that's all been in the air. It's a real shame because, as you say, Derek, it should have been a cause for celebration to see the club back in the Champions League. And listen, I'm sure come 5:30 tonight, you'll start to feel a sense of excitement at what's going to happen in the game ahead. And we know at Rangers, there is a way to solve this kind of thing, to solve the tumult that's going on, and that is just simply to get a result. And if they go to Amsterdam, get a draw, then, a win would be spectacular, obviously, but getting a draw even, it sets you up on a really, really sound platform for the next few games. And Rangers just need to get back to basics and focus on what they do well. They are not a bad team. They got to Europa League last season. They've already dispatched PSV. There's players throughout that team that can cause most teams damage. And they just need to get themselves really, really, really bang up for this one. And if they do that, they've got every chance against a very good team.
Yeah. Joshua, you've done a bit of analysis on Ajax. You've been watching their start to the season. Who should we be wary of this evening? Bergwijn is one player that the people I speak to are concerned about. He's a right danger. But what did you discover from scouting Ajax, and what should Rangers be looking out for tonight?
Yeah, well, they look quite good. Their manager obviously succeeded Ten Hag and worked under him previously. He's also worked at Club Brugge, Barcelona. So yeah, quite the CV. I think they'll line up one of two ways, depending on whether Rangers line up with a back three or whether Rangers line up as a back four, as they did away in Eindhoven a couple of weeks ago. They use their fullbacks in quite interesting ways. One of them will normally come inside to create a back three, much like Barisic has done at points for Rangers. The other will push up. So his name, I think it's Wrench, you pronounce it. He scored a couple of goals already this season, which, because he's coming from right back and he can run inside the pitch completely untracked, he can kind of score unopposed. Quite a difficult movement to track, as we've spoken about with similar fullbacks underlapping on the site before. Lots of rotations and kind of, I presume he's uses kind of positional play, so that, you know, he wants all these zones covered. He wants a player hugging the touchline and one pinning the opposition back line and one kind of coming into the pocket space, but that can vary who it is. So it can be quite difficult to mark, because at one point, if you're a right back, you could be facing up with Bergwijn and having to go 1v1, and then Blind could rotate out there and try and play a pass in behind. So I think they've got a lot of variation in the way that they play. There's not one strict way, and they're not rigid in their positions, I would say. Calvin Bassey is often, I think, at the moment, the deepest defender. And it'll be interesting. Yesterday, James Tavernier was asked, is there any weaknesses you can exploit with Calvin Bassey? And obviously, you know, Rangers will know his strengths better than anyone else, but they'll maybe know if there's anything that they can target there as well. And I think Ajax, if they do go with that setup where they push one of their fullbacks high and they only normally play with one holding midfielder, two kind of free number eights, they'll have a lot offensively, but they've conceded a couple of goals this season that have come basically as a direct result of the opposition just being able to gamble, go over the top of their pressure. They like to try and counter press, not quite as extreme as Borussia Dortmund, but they like to try and commit men forward when they lose the ball, so there could be space to hit there. And then off the ball, not too dissimilar from what Van Bronckhorst does at points with man marking in lots of areas of the pitch. Again, that's quite similar to Ten Hag. So I don't really know what Van Bronckhorst will do, as we were speaking about yesterday, because if you go with a back three, you probably pull John Lundstrom out of the midfield. But equally, I think they commit an extra man forward than PSV, so you're going to have to maybe play I don't know, either one of your wingers a bit deeper or an Arfield there to try and combat that. But they're a good team. We were speaking obviously last night to some people as well, Derek, about the Ajax atmosphere, what that will be like, because it's obviously such a special occasion for their supporters being in the Champions League as well. I think it's going to take a really top Rangers performance to get anything, but they've done it before, etc., etc. But I think it's definitely probably a little bit more of a task than PSV.
Yeah. Johnny, the press conference took place last night. A lot of noise surrounding Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's response to a question asking him if he's happy with his squad and if he would have preferred to bring in a new face between beating PSV in the transfer window closing. And of course, it's emanating from the Saturday performance against Celtic, and he was quite affirmative in his response. He says that he has no regrets at all, and then he went on to say that people just expect Rangers to have this pot of money that they can go and spend, and he says that is not the case. So I think maybe supporters feel that, I know many feel that Rangers, because they've qualified for the Champions League, they can now go out and spend X amount of money and bring in more quality to the side. But it looks like that's not necessarily true. What did you make of his press conference last night? I thought it was quite telling.
Yeah, it was. It was certainly combative for
Yes.
Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Normally he's an excellent and kind of diligent media-trained professional in that it's almost a little dry, a little flat, because he's so good at sort of batting away questions, and he keeps things really drilled down in terms of what he's given away. But I felt yesterday he was in sparkling form, throwing out a few very interesting comments, and that's why I think I would urge anyone to go and have a look at what he had to say on our YouTube channel, because we've got the full presser there, even the stuff in Dutch, although you might need a translator for that. I think it starts it starts about three or 4 minutes in, the English questions. But in terms of the finances, I think this is the big question that fans have, because a lot of people are thrown out there things like, oh, there's been 100 million brought into the club. There's been significant money obviously coming from the various areas that are now working properly, like the player trading model and getting into the Champions League. But it's not like you get a check for 100 million and it comes through the door. In terms of players, number one, there's significant outgoings in terms of a player's transfer to different areas. So, for example, previous clubs, as part of FIFA's program to ensure that clubs from a player's background are properly rewarded for bringing a player through, and that goes all the way down to boys' clubs. You've got agents involved. You've got fees that are built around performances, and you've obviously got fees that are paid over the course of time. So a transfer works out slightly differently than just having the money deposited in your account. And with the Champions League, I think it's significantly less cash rich than it's been in the past. The term 40 million Champions League bonanza gets thrown about all the time, but actually it's different now, because you get a sort of 15 million payment up front, and then there's also a coefficient payment that's based on your 10-year coefficient as a club. And unfortunately, while Rangers have done brilliantly in the last 4 years, if you go back 5 years, it's Progress Niederkorn, and before that, obviously, we know Rangers were in the lower leagues and we're not competing in European football, which means they're absolutely one of the lowest. And this was a way that UEFA have changed the model to, I think, help the bigger clubs get a bigger slice of the pie and sort of try and stave off the Super League. But it means that the total that Rangers are going to be making from the Champions League guaranteed is less than it would have been previously. Now, none of this is to say that Rangers don't have money. I think they do. But I think there needs to be context in terms of how you understand the kind of money that they have. I still think the club should have gone out and strengthened. I don't think it necessarily has to come on deadline day, but having put out PSV, I think that should have been the perfect time to secure either a midfield number 8 or a right winger, or both. I don't think it would have to be a significant spend to do that. You can see across the city, Rio Hatate, I think, cost £1 million. If you do your scouting right, you can go and get these guys in that can change games. So I don't think the board. I think the board should have gone out and spent money to secure those two positions, because for me, if you look at the right wing position, it's not good enough. If you look at central midfield, there's not enough variation. There's quality there, but I think you need a box-to-box player. We've been saying that for some time. So that's how I see the overall sort of financial situation Derek, as it stands. I don't think it's as clear-cut as has been suggested.
Yeah. What did you make of Van Bronckhorst last night, Joshua? You were there with me in that press room. He answered that question on the squad. That was the big talking point, I think, that came from that press conference. He also talked about a bit of an inquest after that Celtic defeat at the weekend, and he was also quizzed on John McLaughlin, if he's going to remain in goal. He never really said here nor there if he's going to play tonight. What was your hunch from what you heard from the manager with regards to the number one position, especially for tonight's game?
I think he will play McLaughlin. I'm just trying to find the quotes just now. He said, he said, you cannot change everything when you have a defeat. You have to stick with your beliefs and way of playing. The execution we had on Sunday was below par. That's what I want to see different tomorrow. I don't think he'll change McLaughlin. And based on his comments yesterday, I actually don't know how much he will change. Maybe, as Jonny was saying last night, he'll give that group of players an opportunity to go and not execute poorly what he set them out to do, which is true. Obviously, he can't rip up the script after every defeat, but you can, and as has been done in the past with Van Bronckhorst, adapt your plans if something goes, I think, structurally wrong. But as we discussed at the weekend, although I think there is a conversation to be had about that domestically as well, Rangers will look at those goals they conceded, as Tavernier spoke about as well. But he was quite defiant for Van Bronckhorst. He comes across as someone who's quite unfazed by criticism. I don't imagine he's someone that is that bothered about other people's opinions, and I don't mean that in a kind of negligent way. But I think he's just comes across as someone who's quite self-assured. Obviously, he's been an elite professional as a footballer his whole career, so he's probably got that self-assurance for good reason. And he'll have. This is, I guess, when it's difficult as a manager when what you've done has not worked. You have to, I guess, back it and try and, as he said, execute it better. I still think there'll maybe a couple of changes tonight. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. And, as we've said all week, as much as this is such a huge game, and of course it is, the game at the weekend equally, if not more, holds such significance for the course of the season, because Rangers need to get 3 points at Pittodrie, and they need to have a moment or a game domestically that I think people can cling on to and buy into and see this is a direction that the squad can take them in, and they want to go on it. So, yeah, huge couple of games, and I would expect a few changes tonight. But I can't see any real scenario where McLaughlin's dropped based on those comments from Van Bronckhorst's presser.
Would you be surprised to see McLaughlin start, Jonny? For me, I think you've seen my predicted lineups on the website. I've got Allan McGregor coming back in. I don't necessarily think that's the answer long term, but for this match, I can't see how John McLaughlin plays. But does he get another chance to redeem himself tonight?
I honestly think it's a massively difficult one, Derek. Joshua was actually really persuasive talking about it last night, and it really has made me mull it over. Just the fact that Rangers have put so much work into their build-up, just the fact you can see that in the game so far this season, and John McLaughlin is better with the ball at his feet than Allan McGregor. But I also, at the same time, can't get my head around the idea that you can play so badly and retain your place. Now, I know it's one position, one game, but say he makes another mistake, then it's on Van Bronckhorst. Like the obvious decision is to bring in McGregor. If you keep McLaughlin in there, it just immediately puts pressure not only on him, but on the manager. And if, for example, you're 1-1, a ball goes into the box with 30 seconds to go and he spills it, then Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is in even more trouble than he will be, or he already is, based on the fact that the 4-0 game has just taken place. Personally, Derek, I think McLaughlin is great coming from crosses. He's a really good puncher of the ball. He dominates the box quite well. He's great with the ball at his feet, but he's just not a Rangers shot stopper. The problem is with McGregor is he's a Rangers shot stopper, but he doesn't come for the ball in the box.
Yeah.
He's not as good with the ball at his feet. So you've got kind of the complete goalkeeper between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to have problems no matter which one you select. To be honest, McGregor last season, he made a few mistakes, but overall, his season was actually fine statistically. So I'd probably go with McGregor, given McLaughlin is at the moment proven to be a statistical anomaly, and he's cost the team 3 goals in the Premiership alone. And I just don't think that can continue. So I'd bring in McGregor, but I can totally understand the reasoning for keeping him in. It's a huge decision, this, for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and that can't be underlined enough. Whichever player he picks, there's going to be big pressure on that player. And I'd rather probably, to be honest, that pressure was on the shoulders of someone with wide shoulders, someone who's handled it before, someone who doesn't care about criticism, and that's Allan McGregor. So I would bring Allan McGregor back.
Yeah. Joshua, you did a great piece on McLaughlin in terms of a start to the season. Can you just give us a brief description of what you found with regard to that piece, however, for anyone that's not read it yet? And is it a concern for you, his start to the season? Is that a worry going forward, not just, of course, for the immediate future, but the weeks and months ahead?
Well, it probably has to be when a goalkeeper has a performance like that. It could be, McLaughlin hasn't had a performance like that in his Rangers career to date. And another reason I think he might start is because, when McGregor, I know statistically McGregor, and I'll get to the stat in a second, may have not been in the red, so to speak, for Rangers last season. As we mentioned yesterday, did have that punch against Hearts, or the Ross County moment where he didn't save it. So there was, I think, moments where crosses into the box at times where maybe did cost the team, but that's not logged in the same way. And he wasn't dropped, which makes me think that Van Bronckhorst, I just think he'll stick with what he thinks is best. But McLaughlin, obviously, everyone could see his shot stopping was pretty below par. I think two or three of the shots went through him, and we use StatsBomb use a stat called goals saved above average, which basically takes, so the expected goals gives you the expected goals rating of a chance. The post-shot expected goals takes into consideration, once the shot's been taken, the pace of the shot, position of the goalkeeper, position of defenders, all these type of things, the likelihood of it going in. So it gives a kind of more accurate, view of should the goalkeeper have stopped it, and he was -2 overall. As we said yesterday, I think there is other things to consider within that, but he has to do better for probably 2 of the goals, definitely. Obviously, the last one as well was a bit of a freak goal, but it wasn't. I don't think anyone can really defend that goalkeeper performance, and I'm sure McLaughlin wouldn't. He also had that performance against PSV just before, which we all thought was a bit of a statement performance for him as a Rangers number one. Beforehand, his goal saved of average stats, which again kind of show how good a shot stopper he is, have been kind of near the neutral mark, so not fantastic, but not terrible. But again, and as we've said earlier in the week, if McLaughlin's have another mistake, or if McGregor's to come in, I just think this is something that should have probably been addressed in the window if Rangers, if Van Bronckhorst isn't confident enough in one of his number ones. But I do think he will play McLaughlin, as I say, just because I think he will do what he thinks is best, and he's worked with him the whole pre-season on this. If it was to continue for another few games, or there was to be a couple more mistakes, maybe that would be a more realistic conversation of him coming out of the team.
Yeah. Just touching on some more fallout from Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's press conference, as you touched on, Joshua, with regards to that feeling that he's set in his ways, and he's quite forthright in his views. He says that as a player, I played for big teams and also suffered big defeats. If you want to reach a higher level and keep developing, you have to learn from your mistakes. We have to keep going, and that's what we're going to do. Talking about, of course, if he's has he picked the players up, and what's he done since that defeat at Parkhead on Saturday. He said that we had the first meetings after Celtic and looking forward to Ajax, but he simply says that you just have to keep going. easier said than done, Jonny, of course. But heading into this one, Ajax are a top side. But Rangers have shown previously, and they've shown in the Netherlands. James Tavernier was quizzed on this as well. Well, they've got they went and beat PSV in their own backyard. In fact, the Ajax manager talked about that, and he says he's not looking at the Celtic result. He's looking more so at the result in Eindhoven. That certainly made people sit up and take notice. And Rangers can take confidence from that, can't they? They have shown PSV, for me, a side that are very much similar to Ajax in quality. They've got players that certainly Rangers would love to have in their squad. So Rangers have it in them to go to places like this. They've showed against Feyenoord as well in recent years. Tavernier mentioned that also yesterday. They can do this, Rangers, don't they? They have it in them to go here tonight and get a positive result.
Yeah, they do. And listen, one thing about Rangers is they always seem to deliver, certainly under Giovanni van Bronckhorst in Europe. And, you know, we know they've lost a few games, but they always came back at Ibrox. And the general feeling, I think, around the club and around the fan base as well is Europe's not a worry. It's just not a worry. Yeah. I'm not particularly concerned going into this game. I don't think I've seen a single match where I felt Rangers were outmatched under Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Not even, you know, RB Leipzig away. I thought it was a really good performance. Late goal by Angelino. Is it Angelino? Am I right?
Yeah.
That apart, you're saying maybe Braga, they didn't play very well, but Braga didn't really break Rangers down too much. They had the odd chance. So I think you go to you go to Ajax and you look at the PSV result as well, and you have to have confidence, Derek. You have to have confidence in the quality that is in this team. Now, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon and be frustrated, and it's totally understandable in sticking the boot into the team after Saturday's game. And listen, we've done it. We've done it here. We've criticised them heavily. But in this European theatre, I think they mostly perform. And I think tonight they'll go out and perform. That's my honest feeling. I don't think it'll be a thrashing. That's for sure. I think Rangers will put a good account of themselves. The players will be desperate to show that they can make up for what happened at the weekend. And that, to me, will be an important factor. If you can get something to build on, Derek, that's what it's about at this stage. It's about a foundation to rebuild, and let's just hope they can go out and do that. But Europe is a different ball game, and hopefully psychologically that'll have a big impact.
Yeah. Before I come to you, Joshua, just a bit of non-related Rangers news. Thomas Tuchel has just been sacked as Chelsea manager. So, of course, they lost last night to Dinamo Zagreb.
Wow.
So that's an interesting one, isn't it?
He spent what, 300 million already this summer, and
he's been given the bullet in the last few moments, folks. Thomas Tuchel sacked as Chelsea manager. Joshua, I wanted to touch on what Jonny mentioned there about a positive result in Europe. Rangers can use that as a springboard domestically. You actually asked James Tavernier this yesterday, didn't you? What do you make of his response? I guess it's the sort of type of response you expect from the player. But it's true, isn't it? A good result, a positive result here. And I'm talking, it doesn't have to be a win. I think a draw would be a sensational start for Rangers. But that really can lighten the mood, this somber atmosphere that supporters are going into this game with.
Yeah, because the atmosphere, as you say, Derek, I don't think it's good at all. I think people... I was speaking to someone else about this, and I was saying the thing is, aside from all European success and whatever, people want to have bragging rights in the Old Firm, and if they feel like that's not that realistic on the back of that performance, I think that's obviously hugely frustrating. And tonight's game, I'm sure when, as Jonny said, when the whistle goes, etc., I mean, it's going to be. We were in the stadium yesterday, Derek, and if anyone's going tonight, it's quite the. It's quite the arena. Literally, lots of Cruyff memorabilia everywhere. It's very steep, isn't it, Derek? So you can the noise is quite the acoustics are quite good, I guess you'd say. You can hear the you can hear conversations. Do you know what I'm trying to say, Derek? It's a bit muted in a good way. I think he's still there. And as I was saying earlier as well, for Ajax, this is such a big occasion. So in isolation, of course, deserves to be completely enjoyed. But I just think until there is evidence that domestically Rangers can go away to a difficult place and keep the gap minimum at 5 points and try and claw that back, there is going to be this air of dissatisfaction, because it's been so long since Rangers, not so long, but a number of months, I think, since Rangers have domestically really put in a number of performances to build that momentum. Obviously, aside from Europe, so you're both two huge games, and I wonder how much a little bit of rotation comes into that. I don't think Rangers have a midweek game. Oh no, they do. They have Napoli on Tuesday, don't
next
they?
week.
So yeah. So I wonder if a bit of rotation comes into it. Not necessarily to weaken the squad, but the likes of Matondo or a change in the middle of the park. I've not seen Ryan Jack play in the middle for a little while, just to make sure that Rangers have the necessary legs for these few games, because Napoli and Ajax, absolutely huge financially, such a big opportunity back on this stage that everyone has waited for so long, but it needs to come, I guess, on the back of some sort of promise and domestically to really build that momentum to where it ought to be, as everyone says, going into a game of this magnitude. But when you come off the back of a 4-0 term defeat, difficult to muster that, I think.
Yeah. I like this comment from CGM55. It says, is it a coincidence that Tuchel gets sacked and Pedro Caixinha is available? I think not. Very much doubt that Pedro is going to be pitching up at Stamford Bridge anytime soon. Before we go then, Johnny, I'll come to you. Score prediction time. What's it going to end up tonight? Can Rangers get a great result to take back to Ibrox with them?
I predict a 1-1. I think Rangers are going to come together in a moment of adversity, and I think they'll dig something out. They'll be under the cosh at times. Ajax have got really good players going forward. We'll have to really, really, really keep an eye on Dusan Tadic. There's no doubt about that for me. And there's other players in that side that are capable of causing serious problems. But if you go there, if you dig in, if you cover each other's backs, and if you work as a team, I think that's the foundation for something, and a foundation where you can bounce back from. They just have to go out there and perform in a really diligent, thoughtful way, I think, at the very minimum. If we see another lazy performance like you saw on Saturday, I think they could be under serious pressures, both the players and the team and the boards. So it's up to those 11 that take the pitch to go out there and kind of release a little bit of tension that's in the air, and that's massive. Let's see how it pans out. You boys will be there in the stadium, and I think it'll be fantastic to see.
Yeah, I can't wait, Joshua. We'll be heading over a little later on. I'm actually going to take in the youth team game as well. Looking forward to seeing how the Rangers youngsters take on their Ajax counterparts this afternoon. If you're heading there, folks, then hopefully you'll enjoy the game. It's at the training ground just across from the stadium. What was that? Tom Malky was saying. Agrees with you, Johnny, a 1-1 draw. Who would win a game between?
I hope so, Johnny, but I doubt it. But this is me getting slagged for my pronunciation of Ajax. I've changed it from Ajax.
There we go. You got
Ajax.
it. Yeah, you can say how you want to say it. Tomato. But Ajax is a pronunciation, of course. Joshua, prediction time. Rangers going to put in a heroic performance. You could be the good luck charm. You were there in Eindhoven when Antonio Colak fired Rangers into the Champions League group stage. Who's going to be the hero tonight?
I think if you're optimistic, you probably go for a draw. The ironic thing about this team is feasibly we could be speaking tonight after Rangers have won. It's just not something that is beyond belief. But equally, I think, again, given the context, given what happened at the weekend, I think maybe a draw is optimistic and takes some sort of positivity. As Tavernier said yesterday, you've got to give a bit of a performance for the fans to going into the weekend. That's a bit harsh, Derek, isn't it? Is Derek wanted to go, we're doomed? What tonight, Derek? Maybe tonight's your chance to rectify your record.
I don't think Derek's Wi-Fi is the best. Josh,
listen, we're having a chat about this.
Oh, Derek? No, he's away.
No,
right. We'll call it there.
Listen. I'm blaming the Duvel, Josh. I don't know about you. I think there's something going wrong there with Derek's Wi-Fi, Derek's brain. I don't know, one of the two. Listen, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Before we do, a quick word from our sponsors. We have got a fantastic deal on with our sponsors' football prizes. Tonight at 7:30, they finish up their latest deal. That is a signed strip from Stephen Davis. It's backlit. It's got a TV in it. You can see it here, and pictures of the player as well. It's absolutely perfect for your home bar or your TV room. Sit up there on the wall beautifully. It's just £3.95, and that gets you a ticket for the raffle. And one lucky person will win that for their home. Now, the other thing about this, of course, is that it's not got 5,000 people in. There's a maximum of 200 tickets that are available. So if you get on there and put your £3.95 in, you have got a decent shot of picking up something that is pretty spectacular. It's bespoke, it's one of a kind, and it'll look fantastic on your wall. Right, we're going to call it a day here. Thank you for all your comments, and thanks for tuning in to this Rangers Review special. We are obviously going to go off and spend the rest of the day doing things. You boys are off to taste some herring, I believe, so I hope you enjoy that. Joshua in particular, I know he likes the idea greatly, so I'm sure that will go down well. But listen,